was gonna say, what is over last year?
Okay. All right. Okay.
I have last year. Okay, I would have got 108 this probably this 20.
You could try to get.
Okay, I got it.
We're getting pretty full now, though, so. Okay. I think we got it.
Gotta go.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. Would you please call roll?
Sure. Waters,
Here.
Morin,
Here.
Detrick,
Here.
Quinn for Dickinson,
Here.
Walter for McClashin, McCarty, Natoli, Schmidt for Supervisor Peters, Sheedy,
Here.
Shelby,
He's here.
he was here,
He's here somewhere. He's here.
and G for Yee.
Here.
And we have a quorum,
We have
sir.
a quorum. Would you read the announcement, please?
Sure. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on Comcast and SureWest cable systems, and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting is being shown live and will be repeated on Saturday, November 7th at noon on Channel 14. This meeting is closed caption. A video copy will be available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker ID form located at the back and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record.
Thank you.
I'm here in the flesh now.
Okay, thank you. And it's noted that Walters is here from McClashin.
Okay. So Cortez, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure will, Mr. Waters.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you read the, I guess we're going to move close executive session to the end, so.
Sure. Item number 1 is closed executive session consisting of 2 items. Item number A is conference with legal counsel on existing litigation.
But
Chair Waters was saying move it towards the end, so I
I'm
don't think.
sorry, I just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
We
apologize.
want to make sure we have as many people here, so we're going to move it to the end of the agenda.
Okay.
So would you read item 2, please?
Sure. Item number 2 is review the franchise fee revenue distribution report and provide staff with direction to continue to monitor the payments made by to member jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you. And actually, before I start, I want to introduce, I hope I get her name right, Kara Ueda? Close enough, I think. Harriet Steiner actually was going to be here, but she had some family business that came up, and so she was unable to attend. But Kara is here in her place, and she's been fully briefed on all the items. So just wanted to make that introduction. And also should point out, too, that we do have some hearing impaired constituents that will be in attendance today, and there will be an interpreter, just to let you know that if anybody was wondering about that. So with that, I'll move right into the item.
Item 2.
Okay. Again, Bob Davison, your executive director, and this is a franchise fee revenue distribution report. If you recall at the last meeting, your board recommended that we review the information and review the franchise fee collections. And basically, I believe Member McCarty brought up the issue, do the franchise fee collections actually represent our allocations? In other words, we collect the 5% franchise fees from AT&T, Comcast, and Sure West. But how closely does that track with where those franchise fees are actually generated? And in fact, this was precipitated because we do have AT&T as a new player, and their portion is growing and growing. And then the question is, does that somehow change how the franchise fees and revenues are allocated by jurisdiction? So with that, and then I'll have to say that this is one thing that has come up before, but we have never really actually had a lot of good information. Honestly, Comcast had provided us information before, but we never actually had information from all providers by jurisdiction. And so after the last meeting, we talked to Comcast, Sure West, and AT&T, and we asked them, is it possible to report this revenue by jurisdiction? And for some it was easier than others, but I do appreciate the help from all those entities, because they all did what we asked them to do, and we took the last franchise fees that were allocated for the last quarter of the previous fiscal year, and we had them report it in total, but also by jurisdiction. And so with that, it's really the first time we've ever actually had that good of a look of where franchise fees are generated. So in the past, we talked about this before. I think we've always said that we expected that the population, which the current commission, JPA, actually says that the franchise fees get allocated to member agencies by population. We've always said that should track pretty closely to where franchise fees are generated, but I don't know that we ever actually knew that. I think we looked at Comcast information once, and it was pretty close. I think we always said it was within 1%. One thing, and that'll become apparent in the table and later on in the presentation, is that actually a 1% swing in population could actually be a much higher swing in revenue. So, for example, if a member city or member agency has a small share, let's say a 5 or 6% share of the revenue as determined by population, if their share was actually, let's say, 6% rather than 5%, that 1% swing could actually produce a much more significant change in revenue, and that's just important to note. So with that, we never really had this information before, but we have it now. It's presented here, and I want to refer you to the table that's on page 2 of the staff report. This is a snapshot of where the franchise fees are generated, and then how that compares to our current process of allocating this franchise fee by Department of Finance population. And so in this table, the first column shows what we found from the information provided by the cable and video companies, exactly the total franchise fees that were generated in the individual jurisdictions. And then we produced a percentage number just to show what the percentage breakdown of that allocation would be if we allocated things that way. Now, the next column shows the actual franchise fee allocation based on the approved budget this year and what the JPA requires, which is using the Department of Finance population numbers, which are shown in the next column. And then the next column shows, well, if you looked at it in this different way, what would the effect be on the different member agencies? And so, for example, if, in fact, your commission changed the way that franchise fees are allocated, Citrus Heights, they're just at the top of the table. I don't want to pick on them, but they're at the top of the table. So the actual allocation to Citrus Heights versus the formula we use now would be about $171,000. If we change the allocation formula, they would get $198,000. And this is per quarter, by the way. So the annual amounts would be multiplied by 4, and with that, their franchise fee share would have increased for this quarter by about $27,000. The percent difference that's being reported. It's based on the difference in the percent allocation, but that's not a percent difference in revenue. And I talked to RG today, and so we had a little conversation about that. I don't want to confuse people, and maybe it would have been better to have another column that showed, well, what would the effect be on revenue? In the paragraph following the table, we do talk about a few of the examples of that. But again, all these numbers except for the city of Folsom, we're within 1% of the population numbers generated by the Department of Finance. But as you can see, from the franchise fee allocation, 3 jurisdictions, Citrus Heights, Folsom, and the City of Sacramento, if the allocation methodology was changed, they would certainly receive more revenue. And then, of course, the other member agencies would be on the other side. They would receive less revenue. The biggest beneficiary of such a change would be the City of Folsom. Their allocation would increase by about $40,000. And again, that's a quarter, so you have to multiply it by 4 for an annual to be annualized. And that would be about a 29% increase. On the other end, the City of Elk Grove, their share would go down by $24,000. And so actually the County of Sacramento would go down by about the same margin as well. Of course, county has a bigger number, so their reduction would be 2%, and the City of Elk Grove's reduction would be 9%. And then I don't have the other numbers right at hand, but the other member agencies would be affected accordingly on a percent basis. But certainly we do show what the change in the quarterly allocation would be. So anyway, in reviewing it last night, I did think that the percent difference column was a little confusing, and so I'm trying to take the extra time to explain that. Not a percent difference in revenue, but it's a percent difference in what the population or what the percent allocation would be under the 2 methodologies. With that, the Commission has always been on a one-for-all, all-for-one model, and the JPA ordinance certainly says that the revenues are distributed by the populations. That is a change that could be made, and it's something that certainly we could be directed to look at. Also want to point out, too, is that it's not just a revenue side of the coin, but there's also the expenditure side of the coin. That would actually be a little more complicated, but if the Commission were to go in this direction, one would also have to examine, should we try to allocate expenditures by member jurisdiction? We've talked about that before with closed captioning, and at one point there was discussion, should closed captioning costs be allocated by member agency, or should it just be taken off the top before the revenue distribution happens at the end of the year? Well, currently all expenses of running Metro Cable, of running the Commission, of closed captioning, and the PEG support that your Commission does, they're taken off the top right now, and then the revenue distribution happens after that. Certainly that could be examined as well. It's probably a little more complicated, but it just kind of goes into in the past, the issue has been, it's kind of a one-for-all, all-for-one type of thing. But like I said, these are all things that are policies that could be discussed by your Commission and could be changed. I'm not recommending any changes today. In fact, what I'm saying is we did this analysis. We just got these numbers in. We would like to track them over a little bit of time to see how they pan out. Do these trends hold? I wouldn't want to make a change mid-year anyway. I mean, if you're going to make a change, I would suggest that you do it at your budget meeting so that the member agencies would be able to budget accordingly, and if certain agencies were to lose some revenue, I wouldn't want to pull it away mid-year necessarily. So what I'm recommending is that we continue to track this. By the June budget meeting, we should at least have 3 quarters. I haven't talked to all the cable and video companies, but I would like to talk to them to see if they would continue to provide this information by jurisdiction as well, so we can just continue this information. And so with that, I'm recommending that your board review this information and direct that we continue to track this and bring it back to the June budget meeting. And certainly if you wanted to provide any other direction, that would be great as well.
Question, Kim. Under this formula, just say Citrus Heights, is that minus the expenses to run the Commission?
Yes. This is what the no, it is not actually. This is just looking at the franchise fees that were generated in your jurisdiction. So we didn't actually assume a model, end-of-year model where we've taken out the expenses and then gave you an allocation. That is actually a good point, and I'm not sure that would be possible to model today, but at the June budget meeting especially, I think we could even bring in 2 options. One option that allocated things based upon the Department of Finance numbers, and the other based upon a formula by where the revenues were generated, and that would actually pull the expenses off the top and then show what the allocation is. So, good point, and you're right. This doesn't assume that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Art, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Art, go ahead.
Bob, the Department of Finance population estimates, those are annual, and when do they come out?
May 2009,
Thank you, Karen.
What, I didn't hear you.
May of 2009.
Okay.
or every year, I should say. It's posted.
Every May. So when we have a June budget meeting, we are always waiting for the May 2009 numbers. We get those. We put that into our budget spreadsheets and such, and then get to the budget and get it done and serve it to you by June. But those are the main numbers that we use. They may come out with other numbers mid-year and such, but the ones that we use for the allocation are the May numbers.
Okay. Any other comments? Good report, and it shouldn't be that big a problem for the cable companies to give us that information, right? You just haven't talked to them yet.
I don't believe so. We've talked to them. We got this pretty easily. Honestly, and SureWest was great, so I don't want to pick on them. It was harder for them because of just the way they have things set up, and they told me that it's actually easier to do when they know in advance. So I had an email exchange with some SureWest staff the other day, but we haven't talked officially, so I don't want to put it out there that it's easy for them and have them come up to the podium and say that's not the case. But I believe that we should be able to get this, and certainly anybody from any of the companies can get up and explain differently.
Sure.
But I don't think it should be a problem.
Okay. Good job. Next
Thank you.
item, please.
Do we need,
You don't need a vote on that. That's just a direction.
Yeah, you probably should direct us to bring the report back to the budget meeting as shown in the staff report. I would take an action if you could.
Okay. Move. Second? Second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that moves. Go ahead. Item 2, or 3, please.
okay, and for the record, McCarty just arrived at our meeting. Welcome, Mr. McCarty. And item number 3 is audit of the franchise fees remitted to a commission by Comcast Cable Communications, Inc. for calendar year 2008.
Okay, thank you. And this will be a pretty short item. If you recall, we had some issues with the Comcast in the past in regards to franchise fees collected, how they were reported, and how that translated to the revenues received. And so basically, without going into a long history, we've recommended in the past that we start looking at Comcast franchise fees and actually audit them on a yearly basis. So this is the first time in a while that we've seen an actual one-year audit of franchise fees. And to make a long story short, they're coming out clean in the audit. Basically, the audit is saying that Comcast is reporting exactly the correct revenues. They're giving us exactly the right franchise fees, and that there's really no problem. With that, I want to commend Comcast. We really appreciate that this is the case. And 2, we're going to recommend that in the future we don't do an annual audit, but maybe go to a audit every 2 years. So with that, I can certainly answer any questions.
I'll just say I support the direction of doing the biannual audit.
Okay. No other questions? Is that a motion, Andy?
Yeah, I'll move
Second.
that direction.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that carries. Next item, please.
Okay, item number 4 is receive and file Sacramento County's amended calendar year 2009 investment policy of the pool investment fund.
Okay, basically, you've adopted a resolution earlier of subscribing to the county's investment policy because we are basically because we use your pooled investment fund. It's required that we adopt such a resolution on an annual basis. This year, they've amended the policy. It has to do with, and honestly, please don't ask too many questions because I'm not sure I fully understand the change, but it has to do with the fact that the state's coming out with warrants and such, and some change to the investment policy was needed in that regard. We're required to review it at a public meeting, and so that's what we're doing. Other than that, they've amended their policy to be in compliance with this state warrant issue, and there's really no other changes here. And there's, other than receiving and filing, there's no action that I'm really requesting of your board. So unless you have any questions, I recommend that you receive and file the investment policy.
Okay, no questions? Okay, receive and file. Thank you. Next
Okay.
item.
Item number 5 is receive and file a letter for appreciation for closed captioning meetings from Lois Diamond, and I believe she is in the audience to speak on this item.
Yeah, well, let me do I have a little bit of a presentation before we ask Ms. Diamond to speak if she would like to. And I'm not going to give a long history here, but the Commission has been very supportive of closed captioning. The members who've been on the Commission for the past several years will certainly understand that and lived it, especially in the 2005 to 2007 timeframe. Just to quickly summarize, in 2005, the Commission authorized to investigate closed captioning. At the 2006 budget meeting, the Commission allocated money to implement closed captioning and actually emphatically directed staff to get it done and get it done quick. So that was my first year as executive director, so I heard that, and with the help of Metro Cable staff and Diane Graber, went through a process that ultimately led to the implementation of closed captioning on Metro Cable in January of 2007. In fact, the first meeting that was captioned was the Cable Commission meeting that was on February 1st of 2007. It was certainly a nice occasion after the work that went into it. But so after that, we've rolled out the implementation of closed caption through all the member agencies, which are all of their meetings are now captioned. And in fact, almost every meeting on Metro Cable, with the exception of 3 small entities where there's logistical issues, are captioned. So basically, 90% of the hours on Metro Cable are captioned, and I think that's just certainly great after the direction that we received just a few years ago. This is a receive and file item, but we did get this very nice letter from Lois Diamond thanking the Commission for captioning and making local government meetings more accessible to the hearing impaired and other folks. I believe Ms. Diamond may want to speak, and certainly I'll give her, and just before that, I do want to thank her, the County Disability Advisory Committee, and NorCal, which is an organization for the deaf and hearing impaired. Their executive director, Sherry Farina, was very instrumental as well. And in fact, your commission received their award in 2008 for implementing closed captioning. Metro Cable staff has just done a great job of almost seamlessly implementing closed captioning. I mean, we hardly get a complaint. Once in a while, a wrong word comes up or something, which is expected with closed captioning, but in general, they're doing a great job. Caption Colorado is our consultant that does the captioning, and they do a wonderful job as well. And with that, I just recommend that you receive and file this report, and certainly if Ms. Diamond would like to speak, I would suggest that
She's filled out a speaker slip.
Okay.
Ms. Diamond? Welcome.
Well, thank you for letting me speak today. I'll keep things to the point and brief. I am so happy to have had captioning. I really just can't explain. It's just wonderful to have caption meetings. We have captionings for other programs, but have never had it on Channel 14. And what had happened, the impetus for this was pretty interesting. I was watching one day and flipping through the channels, and I saw that this programming was on, and they were talking about something, and I was able to grasp something about Hazel Avenue in Orangevale that was going to be widened. And I live near Orangevale, and I thought I might lose my home, in a home that I've lived in for over 30 years. And I didn't know what to do at that point. So I kind of brought it up, because the captioning was so bad. And so I really enjoy all of the captioning on TV, and I'm able to be up to date with all of the goings on in my community. So thank you very much for having captioning.
We'll get you a little water.
Oh, thank you.
Never mind.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Are there any questions of the
Ted
speaker?
Walter beat you, but
Any questions? There are no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Simon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Still,
Stephen Files, to go to the next item, please.
Item number 6 is the adoption of resolution number 09-012 in support of HR 3745 and this is the Community Access Preservation Act.
Okay, thank you. The Community Access Preservation, they call it the CAP Act of 2009. It was introduced by Congresswoman Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin. It's been referred to the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, which Congresswoman Matsui sits on, and it addresses some fundamental issues that have been of concern of the Commission for a long time, and mainly related to the public education and government programming that we all call PEG so much. It's an issue certainly that the Commission has always been supportive of. In general, there's three things that this law does. It requires PEG channels be carried in the same manner as local broadcast channels. This is an issue that's been a concern of the Commission for a while, and actually there's a current litigation, in regard to AT&T and their product. And this is actually in sync with the Commission's litigation there. Basically, some of the things that this legislation would do would require that certain PEG products be carried on channels in the same manner as other channels and such. And we've had many discussions about that at this Commission, so I'm not going to get into the details there, but that's one thing. Also, this would allow PEG fees to be used for any purpose. As your Commission knows, we actually recently implemented a 1% PEG fee. Also, as Harriet Steiner has certainly briefed us on many times, is that those PEG fees may be used for capital. And now this legislation would allow these PEG fees to be used for capital and operations. And just so you know, I don't have the budget numbers with me, but in the past, before we had the PEG fee, we used to fund a lot of PEG support just from our 5% franchise fees. And actually, those PEG fees went for both capital and operations. I'm sorry, those franchise fees that were used to fund PEG went for both capital and operations. We've now implemented a 1% PEG fee, so it generates a lot of extra revenue for PEG capital facilities. This law would allow some of those PEG fees to also be used for supporting PEG operations. The legislation would make cable TV laws applicable to all landline video providers, so not just cable TV providers, but all landline video providers. This legislation is supported by NATOA and the Alliance for Community Media. Harriet Steiner, who certainly is involved in the current litigation, and the attorneys for the Commission are recommending the support as well. I know that the Access Sacramento Board has adopted a similar resolution, and with that I'm recommending that your board adopt the resolution supporting H.R. 3745.
Move approval?
I have three speakers.
Okay.
Liz Rhodes.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Rhodes, Executive Director of Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. Just real quickly, wanted to let you know that SECC fully endorses this bill and is supportive of it. We think it's an absolutely necessary thing, and glad that, especially in today's environment, that it's being looked at and considered, and any kind of support that we can provide in terms of, supporting what you're doing. We're there, and I believe that Ron Cooper suggested that perhaps something that we could all go together in and work with some of the electeds on, and we're very much in favor of that. So we're supportive. Thank you all for everything that you've done in the past. This just makes it a little easier if it goes through.
Thank you, Liz. Ron Cooper? Go ahead, Carl. Carl Burton.
Carl
Welcome,
Burton,
Carl.
Chairman of Public Access here in Sacramento County. I'm greatly concerned about a recent ruling of the Federal Communications Commission in which they said that only access or PEG funds could be used for capital improvement. There's no provision in the future for operating expenses. And our board went on record in support of H.R. 3745, and we're recommending the 222, and we appreciate your support in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak, Ron? You want to speak? Okay. Sandy.
Is that right?
Okay, so that's all the speakers then we have today. Jim, you want to go ahead and make a motion?
Move approval 09, Resolution 09012, of support of HR 3745.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Abstain? Noes? This carries. Next item, please.
Item number 7 is staff status reports.
Okay, thank you, Bob Davison again. I basically have 4 items under staff status, so I'll go through them one at a time, and there's some resolutions and some and such. So anyway, the first item is resolution canceling the December 3rd and January 7th regular board meetings. At this point in time, we don't see the need for those meetings, given the holidays and such, and especially January 7th is probably very, very difficult to get a quorum. We're recommending that you cancel those meetings. We expect that we'll have a February and or March meeting, but for certainly, we don't see a need right now for a January or December meeting. If the need does come up, we'll coordinate with the chair, and we can even set up a special meeting. So certainly, we'll try to be reactive of any situation that comes up. But with that, I recommend that you adopt the resolution canceling the 2 meetings.
You know, Bob, your list of meetings here shows December 2nd. I assume you mean that meeting's canceled.
Oh,
I guess agenda item 7B.
yeah.
So I assume we're just.
2010.
Oh, we're already into.
That's actually the 2010
Oh, okay.
calendar.
Yeah, gosh, I thought
No, but
I was,
yeah,
I was
that's-
getting done with December 09 real fast here.
Yeah.
Okay, you're good, Bob. Never mind.
Okay.
Forget
Well,
forget that.
You caught me because I was believing that you were right.
I was looking way ahead on the calendar.
But, you know, sometimes if you replicate the last year's schedule, we might have made an error or something. So, okay. So I think
Very good.
we're accurate there.
Appreciate the clarification.
Okay. Do we need a vote, Bob?
The item.
Yeah, adopting the resolution.
Yeah, move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
And with that was a good introduction to quickly, we are asking you to receive and file the 2010 board meeting schedule. You know, as always, we don't expect to have all these meetings, but we need to get them in your schedules and cancel them usually with the chair or by resolution, as we're doing today, as we go on. And I'm not recommending any change to that practice. Probably we'll have 4 or so meetings next year, maybe 5. That's about what we've been doing for the past couple of years.
Right.
Okay.
With that, I recommend you receive and file. Karen, do they need to take action, or Chair Waters? do
No,
they
it's
need-
just a receive and file item.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, the next item under miscellaneous is Commission Sunset Study. I don't have a study for you today, but I'm going to give you a little history here and tell you what we're planning to do in 2010. Without going into long detail, the original franchise at one time ended in early 2000, and actually, as settlement of a lawsuit, it was extended to 2023. The commission was not extended to 2023, and we recognized that several years ago. And in 2007, well, actually, the commission was set to end in 2007, and before it ended, we took a JPA ordinance amendment back to your commission and all the member agencies that basically set the end of the commission to be after the franchise ended. So the franchise was to end in 2023. And the commission, the JPA, was amended to end the commission in December of 2024. Now, at that time, the commission requested a sunset study to take place in 2010, and the concern was, with the advent of DIVCA, is the commission still relevant? So, with that, next year's 2010, and we plan to bring such a study back to you. Staff we don't expect to be doing a expensive consultant study here. I believe what we're going to be recommending is that myself and Harriet Steiner are going to be preparing a report. We plan to kind of do a visit with all the member agencies to discuss their interest and their views here, as well as actually to talk to them about the new PEG fee and some other issues as well. We plan to be setting up some of those meetings with either city managers, cable, the staff that have been dedicated to cable at the different member agencies, and also and or city attorneys, depending on the different member agencies and who they like to attend such a meeting. So we want to get that input. Want to work with Harriet Steiner in preparing this report. One thing I will say right now is that when DIVCA was coming out, we didn't know how that was going to affect things. Was that going to completely replace the need to have the commission? And just since DIVCA has been implemented, it hasn't really changed that many things. I mean, Surely we don't authorize franchises anymore. It was something that we did that we don't do now. We used to monitor the balance build of local franchises, and that's something that we don't anymore. But other than that, DIVCA really delegated everything to the locals. So in other words, customer service is delegated to the local agency, local jurisdictions. PEG support is a local jurisdiction thing. DIVCA doesn't touch that too much, other than setting up some framework. We believe a commission is still needed to coordinate PEG issues. The Sacramento area gets 7 PEG channels, which is a lot more than a lot of areas get, and a lot of that's due to the fact that we have a commission structure and a commission that's been supportive of PEG. The management of Metro Cable is a shared asset. So, in other words, having 7 member agencies trying to get their channels on the different local stations and such, it's just seems a lot easier to coordinate the management of that through the commission and Metro Cable. We certainly Harriet and I were talking, and we feel that there's still a need for the commission, and so we just wanted to share some of our thoughts and where we see this sunset study going, but didn't want to just go off and prepare a study, bring it back, and find out that's not what your commission wanted. So I just wanted to take this time to say that 2010 is coming. This is absolutely something that we were asked to do, and this is the direction that we're planning on taking it. And you can certainly provide input now, or just at maybe some other time.
Is there a month in 2010 when this sunsets? July or December?
Yeah, I'm eyeing August, September timeframe. Want to get through budget first.
No, but I meant it won't sunset until the last part of 2010.
Well, right now, it won't sunset into 2010. The commission now, given the JPA change, will sunset in 2024.
Oh, okay.
There was some concern about just letting it go to 2024 without addressing the need for the commission before then. So as part of the adoption of those the ordinance extending the commission to 2024, we were asked to bring this sunset study back in 2010, and so
that's fine.
That's what we plan to do.
Thanks, Bob. Any questions? Okay.
Okay. With that, I just have one other thing under a miscellaneous item. I think most of you remember Diane Graber. She was a longtime administrative service officer for the commission. Well, went through a process to replace her, and we did with Karen Liu. And I just wanted to report to you that I recently gave Karen a performance evaluation, and I'm not going to share the details of that. But it was a very positive performance evaluation. Diane was a hard act to follow, and Karen has just been doing a great job in picking up after she left and keeping the commission going. It's a unique job. There's probably not too many other jobs like it, and I just wanted to, say that Karen's been doing a great job, and 2, I wanted to report that when we originally offered the job, we said that we started her at a lower level than Diane was, ASO 2 at the county, and so we also said that at this time, assuming a good performance evaluation and such, that we would consider promoting her to the ASO 3 level. And I just wanted to let your commission know that we've done that, and so I've approved that. And I just wanted to take this time to recognize Karen and what a great job she's been doing. And I'm hoping she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I won't, Bob. Thanks.
Congratulations to you. You've done an excellent job since you've been here. Okay. Any other comments?
And Karen, did I have anything else for staff status? I think that.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Did my notes? Steve might have an issue you'd like to bring up. Grove. Has it been taken care of?
Chair Waters, I believe that would actually be at the point of the agenda, which is the franchise and licensing status reports, which is the next item on the agenda. And I have not conferred with Mr. Dietrich, so I don't know if he still has some issues or not. I shared with Mr. Waters some of your concerns, and you might be bringing them up at today's meeting.
Oh, relative to the
senior
issues?
Yes. So anyway, I don't know. We're at that point in the agenda anyway, so did you want to call the next item, and we can...
Item number 8 is just franchise and license presentations and updates, if any. I don't believe we have any speaker slips on that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I would like to speak on it. Just to give you a little background, my father is in assisted living, And one of the issues, obviously with a lot of seniors, is their finances. And he lived it's a group housing environment, but they required everybody to have an individual cable box and pay individual cable prices the same as everyone else. And so I approached, this was with Comcast, and I approached Comcast to ask if they had some type of a senior plan, and they said no. And those of you know I'm in the utility business as well, and that it's much less expensive to provide service in a group facility. And so I was extremely disappointed to see that there wasn't anything available for the seniors. And actually, when I approached the company originally, they said that I should, before they knew that I was with the city of Elk Grove, they said that I needed to go talk to the city council of Elk Grove to see how they could help my father with subsidy, because that they don't do that. And so I proceeded to tell them that I was a little disappointed with that, and that since I was on the Elk Grove City Council, that is not something that is the responsibility of the city. So I would like to see if there's an opportunity for the owners to take back of all the cable and services that provide to seniors, that they come up with some type of a senior rate. I mean, the answer was to only give them the opportunity to pick the same menu that everybody else does. But even with that, my father was paying $75 a month in assisted living for basic cable TV, because he had HD TV, so he had to have the HD service. And $75 a month when you're on a fixed income is quite a bit of money. And as I mentioned, since it also is in a grouped housing where they can bring the cable in, and there was 90 people in the building, their costs are driven way down. And I think those are considerations that I would like to see all the agencies review.
You'll look into that, Bob?
Actually, I think I can certainly talk to some of the cable companies just to point out, and we talked to Harriet Steiner about this too. Is the commission doesn't regulate rates. So in other words, whether the cable companies have a senior rate or not, it's really not something that the commission can regulate. Certainly, board members can use this forum to send a message like that to the cable companies that are in attendance, and I think that's what's being done. I believe Mr. Dietrich is asking that maybe some of the companies in attendance bring this issue and possibly address this at this point in the agenda at a future meeting. I could try and facilitate a reminder and such, but I just want to make it clear that it's not under the purview of the commission, and so that should just be clear. So.
Okay. I understand that, but one of my concerns is anything to do with seniors and disabled and children are strong passions of mine, and I think that's, I know that's not out of our jurisdiction, but I think we can still pass on the message. We would like to see that, because when I talked to the government affairs, they said, well, we've never had that discussion before. I said, well, I think that's something that should be taken back to the corporate level.
And I'm not sure if any of the cable companies who are here today, would want to address this now, or would express a willingness to take that back. But
okay. Next item.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 9 is channel licensee or grantee presentations.
Oh, I got a speaker, so I'm sorry to give it back to you. On 9, there was 2 speakers. Liz, were you on 9 also? You want to come up, please? And then you will read the next one.
Liz Rose is first, and then Mr. Ron Cooper will be next.
Thank you. I'm Liz Rhodes, Executive Director of the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. Want to report on basically 2 sides, the BestNet side and then what Smctc is doing. BestNet Year 2 schools are finally done, and I have the preliminary figures from Comcast for the bill. Good news is it's about 6 to 7% under what they said it was going to be. So we're late in getting the schools done, but we've done them for less money, and I think that's amazing. And I just want to compliment Comcast on their work with us. It's been they've been very, very good to work with, and have worked very well with the schools in bringing those costs down. The other item that we've been working on with them is the elementary schools, because part of the agreement, the BestNet agreement, says that at some point we would be dealing with the elementary schools. Comcast has agreed to work with us in terms of connecting all of the elementary schools. I've talked with Bob about it, and we are in the process right now of working with Comcast to figure out what that's going to look like. We have a preliminary plan in place that we're going to be bringing to your staff, hopefully in January or February, when we get Comcast to put their little signature on it, that they agree that this is the best way to move forward. We're very encouraged by it. It looks like it's very doable. At the same time, we're also looking as a consortium at some outside funding to help with the cost, because it will, no matter how we look at it, the short-term costs are expensive to connect those elementary schools, but there's some new technologies out there, so that's looking very positive. And the other item I wanted to comment about BestNet was SureWest. SureWest is working very closely with us. We're mainly in the San Juan district at the moment. We'll be moving down to Elk Grove. San Juan ran into some problems with some designs that were unexpected, and I want to compliment SureWest in that there was additional bandwidth needed to go into the district office. SureWest is working very cooperatively, no additional charge, and they were entitled to charge us for that, and they did not. So we're having a very positive relationship with SureWest, moving slowly, but at least it's a forward motion. The other items that I want to talk about have to do with Smctc. I mentioned to you last time we've installed a very sophisticated automatic playback system. It's working very well now. We had a few bumps in the road as we started, and I want to publicly thank Ron Cooper and Access Sacramento. One weekend we bumped them for an entire day off their system, so some of their producers didn't have some of their programs operating. It was just one of the glitches in the system that we weren't able to control. And Ron and all of the folks at Access were absolutely phenomenal in terms of working that through with us and helping us through the training of that very complicated system. What it has done, though, is we're able to do a lot more of local programming and airing of classes without having to deal with the extra charges we had to pay in the past for student operators. So we're saving significant funds, about $60,000 this year. And that system was purchased at no cost to out of the cable funds. It was all supported by outside sources. So we're excited about that. The real big thing I'd like to talk about, exciting things that happen. I've saved some of these newsletters. If I can just have you pass them out. I don't have. So these are just copies of our. One of the things that we've really been trying to do is look at the positive side of what's happening in our schools today and how we can cooperate and work more closely together. One of the real exciting things that we did last year is we got a grant with Sac City Unified School District to put in a studio. And the cover of that newsletter is the Einstein's Eagle Eye, is what they call their studio. And I have a short video I want you to see. The studio is up and running. And it is making a huge difference to the teachers and the students in the school. And the reason I want to show it to you so you can actually see what your support does in one small area, but is huge to the students that work in that, in that school. And that's at Einstein. If we could watch that video right now, that'd be great. I guess you don't say roll tape, but whatever you say.
Hi, I'm Denise. We're at Einstein Middle School, and I'm going to give you guys a tour of our studio, the Eagle Eye.
We've built a place where kids can explore avenues that we never could offer them before.
Today's top story is about Soaring Awards.
Yeah, we interviewed March.
The preparation that goes into a live broadcast covers so many areas across the curriculum, which is what appeals to me, because we're going to be covering history, science, incorporating every element that the California state standards cover in some way, and revering that through special stories is very important to me as an educator.
It's fabulous with all this new technology that we have. We're so thankful to have this out of all those schools that could have it.
These kids learn the idea of teamwork, because there's nothing in here that we do that's a standalone, nothing. there's always somebody behind it. And there's such a feeling of ownership, pride of ownership that's been developed.
Welcome to the Eagle Eye, where we got the news in sight.
Now, here's the real exciting part of that. Not only are these guys up and running, but we were able to save enough money by doing the design ourselves, not hiring, which was in the original grant, and by hiring somebody to develop it and implement it. We were able to save enough money that we rolled those funds over, and we're going to be installing a similar studio next week at Sam Brandon Middle School. So, there are opportunities out there. There's ways of doing things differently, and I'm just pleased to report that, the funding that you provide makes some of these other things available to students that they wouldn't have, and it's a real bright spot in the day of the teacher. It makes such a difference in the school, and we're just happy that we can be a part of that. And for me, that's the great part of my job, is to be able to see these positive things and the enthusiasm of those students. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz, so much. Excellent. Any other comments?
No.
Question?
Great.
James.
I'm sorry, Jim. James?
Yeah, could you mind sharing the next meeting a list of how many of the lower performing schools that you guys are involved with in terms of program activities?
Oh, certainly.
No, okay,
Good point.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Okay.
And of course, Liz, not only within the Sac Unified School District, but maybe even within the Twin Rivers Unified School District.
I meant the county.
Okay. The whole county, of course.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Ron Cooper is our next speaker.
Yes, sir.
Ron Cooper, Executive Director of Access Sacramento, and that was a great video. It reminds me of 30 years ago. I had just completed my graduate degree from San Francisco State, and for 2 years was at McClatchy High School, starting a TV studio there. So sometimes it takes a long time to incorporate technology, to identify all of the resources necessary. So this is a really wonderful sign, and a strong believer in how working in the schools with students teaches so many, just beginning with technological skills. But when you stop and think about studio production as small group communication and problem solving, literacy skills, is really a fantastic tool. So really glad to see that. I passed out an update of what we've been doing in the last 6 months, and of course November 15th is the 6-month full report that will be coming to you. But just to hit some of the high points there, as Liz was saying, for the Ed Consortium, Access Sacramento 2 has been setting aside a little bit of money each year for staff purchase and upgrade of equipment, and not necessarily always coming to the Cable Commission for those funds. So in the past 6 months, we did tap into that equipment reserve that we've been setting aside to the tune of about $40,000. We just completed the 10th annual place called Sacramento Film Festival. The motto this year was 10 years, 100 films. And it was another successful venture with more than 700 folks in attendance at the Crest. There's some other items there, but I won't go into them now, but I encourage you to take a look at them, and if you have any questions on any of the details, just be sure and let me know. The key points that I wanted to bring you up to speed on for today's meeting are on the other pages of the green handout. For about the past 4 or 5 months now, Access Sacramento has been working with other community media centers around the country, most notably the Grand Rapids Community Media Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids has taken the lead nationally on using web-based software and developing some innovative new techniques, creating what they call neighborhood news bureaus. And I encourage you to go to that website listed, www.therapidian, for Grand Rapids, therapidian.org. And what you'll see there is the city of Grand Rapids divided into 4 geographic quadrants, and training going underway, training volunteers to use the current technology and post directly onto the website information about their neighborhoods, pictures, photos, Flickr, using Facebook and Twitter in a very productive way, about things happening. A car wreck at the corner, a gas station got robbed, my kid just got all A's, all kinds of interesting at the very hyper-local grassroots level. And in our relationship that's been progressing nicely with the Sacramento Bee, particularly the electronic edition of the Bee, sacbee.com, what the Bee is very conscious of, as most newspapers in the country, is with the dwindling and shifting advertising revenue market and the layoffs that are going on at all newspapers, including the Bee, many of those reporters that are being laid off are the most local reporters. So while many nonprofit organizations and community groups, and I'm sure you've heard this before in your role, have always done a questionable job in terms of coverage of the many wonderful events going on. It's all about, crash and burn and bleeds it leads, and not about the positive things going on in the community. Now there's even fewer reporters in the field to do those kinds of community event activities. So we are getting lots of nice feedback from the Bee, moving forward, learning from the Grand Rapids model, and have submitted to the Knight Foundation. They have a particular grant application process. It's all online. So the documents that you see here before you, this is the abbreviated overview of what we call the South Sacramento Neighborhood News Bureaus, reporting hyperlocal news in diverse communities. What we're doing is using the Rapidian model and developing a new platform that we refer to as asisonline.tv, moving toward using the latest in web-based technologies to augment what we're already doing in the way of community reporting and community events and game of the week and all the rest, but now really going to another more deeper level of beginning the process of training our community correspondents. Now, these are not community journalists. Journalists is a buzzword that will be a buzz kill if you mention that in a newsroom. Journalism is a profession, and what we're talking about is really about your own neighborhood, your school, your, a very, I would say, subjective point of view rather than an objective point of view, but really events that aren't really covered. So the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is we're moving forward methodically, inviting and involving other organization groups. We've already got great feedback from County of Sacramento, South Sacramento Neighborhood Services, the Asian Resource Center, CARE and Vision Project, which are addressing diversity in South Sacramento County. And if your constituency falls within the city of Sacramento or county, we'd love to hear from you in any way we can help. And then the final document there is an update on where we stand right now with the Hometown TV and the Game of Week events as of this day. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Just
Question
one comment. I would
from
just
Jane.
like to acknowledge Ron for his tireless efforts in trying to get low and moderate income communities to understand how they can get access to the internet and also its technology. And I think that sometimes even people aren't listening. He's really been an advocate. And so I hope you can pull some organization together and continue your good work.
Appreciate your nice words. Thank you, James.
Okay. Now we're going to go to item 1. Is that correct, Bob?
Actually, before we do that, can we take item number 10 to discuss
10?
matters not on the agenda as requested by Lois Diamond?
Thank you for letting me speak again. I hope I'm praying I don't cough again. But I did like Mr. Dietrich's comments, how he spoke about the senior citizens with the reduced rates for the cable TV. You know, I just wanted to comment that that really applies to all senior citizens. And I do feel that it's not fair to all of us, and including myself, who happens to be today is my 70th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you. And you know, I pay about $135 a month for my cable bill. And I really wish it were cheaper. And not to try to recruit any sympathy for deaf people, but just to let you know, the fact remains that deaf people do watch cable TV, and not all cable TV programs are captioned, but we pay for them regardless. So I feel that cable really is not sympathetic for people's needs in terms of accessibility. And I really do want to especially emphasize in having a reduced rate for senior citizens, for all of us, including me. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, next item is
So now we'll take the
Item
executive
one.
session item. Item number 1, for the record, A is conference with legal counsel on existing litigation, City of LA, Sacramento Metro Cable TV Commission, and the City of El Segundo versus Pacific Bell Telephone Company, doing business as SBC, Pacific Bell Telephone Company, doing business as AT&T California, LA Superior Court, Central District, case number BC 414272. Item number B is conference with legal counsel on existing litigation regarding a petition for declaratory ruling regarding public, educational, and governmental programming, FCC CSR-81126, CSR-8127, CSR-8128, and that is the MB docket number 09-13.
Carol, will we have a report out? Do we have to come back after closed session? Okay. So where are we going to have it, Bob?
We do have the hearing room 1 reserved if you want, or we could
No,
go
let's
back
go.
here.
Let's go back. How long is it going to be? How long you think?
5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, let's go into the room.
Okay.
We'll recess into.